Okay, you got two packets. This one I'm going to do all with you. I want to pick it up tomorrow so I can give you a grade on it. Now you need to graph the equation, and what you need to do is pay attention to where the y and the x are at. Okay, as you can see here, the y and the x are on opposite sides with the y by itself. That means it's in slope Y-intercept form. So to graph it most efficiently, I would identify the slope and the y-intercept. The y-intercept is a number not multiplied by x, so that's 0, -3. And then the slope would be 4. I need that to be a fraction, so I put a 1 over it. Okay, so on the y-axis, I go down 1, 2, 3. Then to get my subsequent points, it's rise over run. So I go up 4, right 1. Do it again. Okay, so I take a ruler and just connect those. Okay, and there's a line, put arrows on both ends. Now the next one, here's the equals, so the y and the x here are on the same side, so that makes this form standard form. So to graph standard form, I'm just going to use two coordinates. I'm going to use, and I'm going to randomly put in two numbers for each one, but the best one to use is 0. You're going to find the x and y intercept. So I'm going to write that out twice then. And now if x is 0, I can replace the x with 0, and the product of anything in 0 is 0, so that -3 can just go bye-bye. So 5 times y equals 15, so I divide by 5, and I get 3. Now that's the y-intercept, okay? So you go up 1, 2, 3. Now, to find the other intercept, the x-intercept, okay, you put 0 in for the y. So 5 times 0 is 0. Remember, the word intercept means where it crosses. So I now have a simple equation where -3 times x equals 15, so I divide by -3. And 15 divided by -3 is -5. So that's on the x line, -5. So I go backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of you are like, well, I thought you could never go backwards. Yeah, you can't with a slope, but I'm not going to use the slope here. Okay, so take a ruler and graph the line. And that line represents the equation, -3x plus 5y equals 15. And everywhere on this line is x-y combinations for the equation, okay? You just see two of them you mark, but on that line you get a bunch of different ones. Okay, y equals 7. Well, where's the x? It's not here. That means it's constant form. The y is constantly at 7. So with constant form, we use 3 coordinates. And I'm just going to constantly put 7 in for my y's, because y is equal to 7. So x is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so remember, this is the x, this is the y. So I go forward 1 on the x and up 7 on the y. 2, 7, forward 2 on the x, up to 7 on the y. And then 3, 7, forward 3, up 7. And you can just pretty much trace a line. On that line, you're constantly at 7. Okay, now the next one, the line's there, but you have to come up with the equation. Write an equation in slope-intercept form to the line shown. Slope-intercept is the y equals blank x plus blank, mb. So we find m and we find b. Now, when I'm looking at a graph, we're going to find the b first because that's the y-intercept, okay? So that's where it crosses the y-axis. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So positive 5 is the b. Now the slope, I'm going to find a point forward that's right on the grid. Okay, so I'm looking through there, and right there is the best place. So now I make a slope out of that by making the right triangle. So I'm going down 2, so -2, and forward 3. So -2 over 3 is my slope. That's in simplest form, that fraction is. So my m is -2/3. Okay, write an equation of the line with m of -2 through the xy coordinate -2, 3. Again, y equals blank x plus blank. Okay, and we got to find the m and the b. Now if I don't have a graph, I'm going to identify my m first, my slope. Well, my m is there for me. It's -2. And to find b, when you don't see the graph, you got to use y equals mx plus b. Get rid of the y, the m, and the x. The m is the -2. You know that. And then y is 3, and x is -2. So I multiply the -2's, that's 4. 3 equals 4 plus 1b. Then I have to get the 4 to a 0. So I minus 4. 3 minus 4 is -1. And you got 1b. Now you don't have to divide by 1, so your y-intercept's -1. Y equals mx plus b is used to find where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, that's how that is. Okay, now I'm going to set this up the same way, but I don't have my m value, m and b. All it gives me is the two points it goes through. It doesn't actually tell me my m, my slope. So xy, xy. Now if I don't have my m value and I don't see the graph, I'm going to use y minus y divided by x minus x. So remember, in that formula we want to compare the x's 4 and 8. So that's the higher x, so we're going to start with that. So 8's on the bottom because x is on the bottom, and then -6 is on the top. Now 4 is going to be on the bottom and -2 is on top. Now that minus negative is plus plus, so -6 plus 2 is -4, and 8 minus 4 is 4. So I divide that, and it's -1. And that's your m value. Slope is -1. So b, you're going to use y equals mx plus b. I get rid of those 3 variables other than the b. My m is -1, okay? Whatever I got up there, that's why you want to put that in for m right away. Now for y and x, it doesn't matter which one you pick, okay? I'll pick this one. So y is -6 and x is 8. So I line up my equals. I have -6. Then -1 times 8 is -8 plus 1b. Okay, get the -8 to a 0 by adding 8, and that's 2. You don't need to divide by 1, okay, it's just 2. And there's your equation, y equals -1x plus 2. Again, you can always check your answers for these by putting -2 in for x. -2 times -2 is 4, and 4 plus -1 is 3. And I can do likewise on these. Put the 4 in for x. -1 times 4 is -4. And then add 2 to that would be -2. And the same thing will work here. -1 times 8 is -8. And if we add 2 to that -8, it's -6. Okay, now the next one. Find the slope and y-intercept of the equation. Now, this is, I got things set up for it. You have to get that y variable by itself, okay? That means that 3x has to be taken to a 0. So minus 3x, but since the 12 doesn't have an x, we put minus 3x behind it. Now, you're going to line up your equals, and you're still going to have 4 times y on that side. But over here, you want to make the minus a plus negative and rewrite that so the -3x comes before the constant term of 12. Okay? Now I have to undo the multiplying by 4, so I divide by 4. And then I come over here because now y is by itself. So if I go negative 3 ABC4, negative 3 divided by 4 is a decimal, so we're going to leave that as a fraction, negative 3/4 x. And then 12 divided by 4 is not a decimal, okay, so that's 3, so plus 3. So now I see my slope is negative 3/4 and my y-intercept is 3. Remember, the y-intercept's the number not multiplied by x. Okay, then some problem solving. And I'm going to come back to that one, but I want to do the first one. Okay, you have already placed 175 pieces on a puzzle. Each minute you place 10 more pieces. Write an equation in slope-intercept form to model the number of pieces placed. Use the equation to find how many pieces have been placed after 50 minutes. This is like a story problem we've been doing for a long time, okay? But you're going to make the table up there yourself. X, Y, and X is your time, so minutes and pieces. Now this starts at 0 no matter what. But before they even mention minutes, you see the pieces were 175. So we don't start at 0, we start at 175. Then after 1 minute, we put 10 more pieces, so that's 185. And after 2 minutes, 195, and you get the idea, okay? So because it does not start at 0, we're going to make our 3 boxes with our line. Okay, and you know 175 is at the beginning. Okay, so then I analyze minutes and pieces. So minutes is X, pieces is Y. So per pieces per minute. Pieces per minute is 10 each minute, because I was adding 10 all the way through there, so 10x, okay? So 10x, you got your 175, and that equals y. So I write the equation. That's my equation in slope-intercept form because y is by itself. So 175 plus 10x equals y. Now I'm going to solve it. I have to find the number of pieces. So when I find the pieces, I'm solving for y. So that means we have to replace the x with 50 minutes, okay? So we got 175 plus 10 times 50 equals y. And we can just plug that then into the calculator. It's very easy to solve for y because y is by itself. Okay, and I got 175. Here, I gotta get this out of scientific notation. Okay. There we go. Okay. So 175 plus 10 times 50. I got 675. So that's my answer. 675 equals y. So 675 pieces. Okay, now I go to the other one. That'll be the end of this packet. I am downloading an extremely long video to a computer. After 4 minutes of uploading time, okay, there are 501 megabytes left to download. After 15 minutes of uploading time, there are 468 megabytes left to download. How many minutes will it take the entire video to upload? That means when is there going to be 0 minutes remaining? So again, okay, you need to analyze the problem. You got X and Y, and you're going to put minutes for X and MB megabytes for Y. That's me. That you can't see what I wrote. I wrote minutes and MB megabytes. Now let's fill in what we know. Okay, we're going to start with. You'll start with a 0, but don't put anything there yet. Okay. So 4 minutes. I had 501 megabytes left. 15 minutes, we had 468 megabytes left. So obviously, 0 would not go with 0, okay? Because my megabytes are going down. So there's a B value there. We just don't know what it is. But I'm still going to make my line. But when I make my line, I'll just put B at the beginning. Okay? Okay, so I put minutes and megabytes. Time is X, megabytes is Y, and per. Megabytes per minute. Now, unlike the last problem where I was going up by one, in increments of 1 over here, now it's not. At 0, it skips to 4, it gets to 15. So I really don't know what it's going up by every single minute. Okay? So, to find the megabytes per minute, I'm going to take Y minus Y divided by X minus X, and that'll tell me what it's going up by every minute. Now remember, Y is megabytes, X is minutes. Now, in a story problem, it doesn't matter what you put first. So the megabytes, I go from 501 to 468. In the meantime, the minutes, I'm going from 4 to 15, okay? So 4 minus 15. 501 minus 468 is 33, and then 4 minus 15 is negative 11. So when I divide that, I get negative 3. So if that were going up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, after 5 minutes you'd be down to 498. After 6 minutes you'd be 495, and so forth. You're going down by 3. So I put negative 3x. Now I need to find out the beginning, okay? So the B is Y equals mx plus B. See, I'll go back to this problem here, okay? This problem here, I didn't have to do all this crap because I knew every minute it went up by 10, so I knew that it was 10x. I don't have to worry about that, okay? I also knew before they even talked about minutes, it had 175, okay? See, I don't know those things when I'm working on this other problem. So, Y, M, and X get out of here. M is negative 3. And I need to identify the combo, okay? Combination. You need minutes and megabytes, one of each, because that's my X and that's my Y I'm going to use. So 4 minutes, and that's going to be X because that's time, and then 501 megabytes. That's my Y. So 501 is my Y, and then my X is going to be times 4. Okay, so I got 501 to start with, and that's negative 12 plus 1b. Get the negative 12 to a 0 by adding 12. And that's 513. So 513 equals 1b. Okay, equals y. All right, now you can write your equation. 513 plus negative 3x equals y. Now, by the way, this shouldn't say minutes, that should say megabytes, okay? Okay, or no, shoot. I'm sorry, I wrote this like a moron, I apologize, okay? You're going to write minutes down here. It was right the first time, but this 0 minutes is 0 megabytes, okay? So you're solving for the minutes, so you're solving for x now. So I have to get y out of here, and I'm going to put 0 megabytes in for y, okay? So replace your y with 0, and then you get the x by itself, okay? So you need to get the 513 to a 0 by subtracting. So negative 3x equals negative 513. And then I divide by negative 3. And negative 513 divided by negative 3 is negative 71. Okay? Is positive 171. Okay, so that's how many minutes it's going to take the whole video to download. Okay, now I will have that handed in. Okay. Now the next problem, next part, and we've been through this before last week. Graph the equations on the same plane. Okay. So you got y, x, opposite sides in both equations. So we're going to use slope and y-intercept to graph it. Okay, both of them. So the y-intercept here is 6. The slope would be negative 3 over 1. So y-intercept, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then from there, I go down 3, right 1. Then I take a ruler and make that line as straight as I possibly can. Okay, now the other one, the y-intercept here is negative 1. And the slope's the same. So these are going to be parallel lines because they're the same slope. So I go down 1, and then I go down 3, right 1 from here. Now they're close together, but they are going to be parallel. They will never cross. It's virtually impossible for them to cross because the slopes were the same. Okay. Now, the slopes are not the same. These won't be parallel, but I still got the y and the x on opposite sides with the y by itself. So that's going to be slope, y-intercept to get both the lines graphed in the most efficient way possible. So my y-intercept here is positive 6. Negative 1/2 is the slope. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I go down 1, right 2. And then again. Okay, now in the other one, the y-intercept's negative 1, so I plot that down, and then my slope is 2. To make that a fraction, it's 2 over 1. So it's positive, so I go up 2, right 1. Now these are going to cross, but they're going to form some type of a special angle, okay? They might not look like it because, again, I'm a terrible grapher, okay? They form a right angle. It might not look like a right angle, but it's supposed to be, okay? Now, the reason why they form a right angle is because they're reciprocals, and one's negative, one's positive. Now, take this paper and gently tear it off so you can refer to it when working through these problems. Write an equation, slope-intercept form that is parallel to this line, y equals 3x plus 2, and this equation goes through 2, 3, my equation. So y equals mx plus b with the blanks in, and we got to find the m and the b. Now, it says parallel. Parallel use the same slope that's over here. Now, the slope of this line would be 3. I don't use the plus 2. I don't care about that. 3. B is y equals mx plus b. So I cross out the y, the m, and the x. The m use 3. Then the x, y go at this point. So y is 3. And then I will take times 2 over here. That's y, that's x. So I have 3. 3 times 2 is 6 plus b. Okay. Get that 6 to a 0 by subtracting it. 3 minus 6 is negative 3 equals 1b. Ditch the 1, and there we have it. That and that parallel. Next problem. Set it up the same way. All problems on this assignment you will set up this way, because when they say you have to write it in slope-intercept form, that's going to be your direction to take. Parallel again. Use the same slope that's over here. Okay? The slope is negative 3 over 2. Because the y is by itself, I know on the other side's my slope, right in front of the x. Negative 3 over 2. Okay, and then b, y equals mx plus b. My m is up there, it's negative 3 over 2. Okay, this is my x and y. That plus 6 is not used at all. So 3 is the y, and then negative 6 is going to be my x. Now I multiply that on a calculator, negative 3abc2 times 6, I got negative 9. Okay, now get that negative 9 to a 0 by adding 9. 3 plus 9 is 12. Okay, there's your equation. Okay, next problem. Now the game changes. Now it's not parallel, it's perpendicular. Perpendicular, you make the slope over here a fraction. If it's not, reciprocate it and change the sign to opposite. I mean, it pretty much tells you right there what to do. So to find the m, I look at this equation. Okay, the y is by itself, so in front of the x is my slope. Now, make it a fraction. It already is a fraction. Okay, reciprocate it over here, 2 over 1, and change the sign to opposite. So that's positive, we're going to have negative. Now, if an integer has a 1 under it, you need to just put negative 2 up there, if the 1's on the bottom. And then I do the same thing to find my b, the exact same thing. I don't do anything with the minus 1. So my m is negative 2. My y is 3, and my x is negative 2. So that's 4, so 3 is equal to 4 plus b. Get the 4 to a 0 by minusing 4, and that takes us to negative 1, equals 1 times b, but I don't need the 1 multiplier, negative 1. If I graphed them, they would cross at a right angle. Okay, perpendicular to y equals 5x plus 4 through the xy coordinate negative 5, 6. So I got to find the m and b, but when they tell parallel perpendicular, I just need to look at the equation, okay, to do my m. So y is by itself, so I know my slope is 5. But I need to make the slope a fraction by putting a 1 under it, flip it to 1/5, change the sign to opposite. That's positive there, we're going to have negative here. And if you have negative here, you got positive here. So negative 1/5 is my m. So b, y equals mx plus b. The m is negative 1/5, okay? Y is 6, and you're going to take negative 1/5 times negative 5. Line up the equals, you got 6. And when I take negative 1/5 times negative 5, I get 1. So 6 equals 1 plus b. Get the 1 to a 0. Minus 1, minus 1, that's 5. Okay? There we have it. You got 4 to do. Use this, parallel, use the same slope as what's on the other equation.